This is going to be a review of the HP ProBook 645 G4. It has an AMD Ryzen 7 Pro 2700U quad-core processor. It's got 256 gigabytes of, I think it's G5 SSD space. That's an NVMe PCIe SSD. So that means that it can be up to 5 gigabytes per second speed. What else? It has 8 gig of RAM. It's got a single RAM stick, and that means that you can add another RAM stick to the empty DDR4 slot, which is in the laptop. So this laptop isn't heavily reviewed. In fact, there are no reviews that I could find for this particular laptop, at least on YouTube, and Googling there were some, but they were all in different languages. So I felt that in order to inform other people about it, I should be the one who makes a review. So this is what it looks like. As you can see, it does have quite a thick profile. It's got intake grills on the underside. This is for cooling the APU inside, which has the integrated, I think it's Vega 10 graphics, which is a step up from the 2500U's Vega 7 graphics. I think it's about 20 to 25% better. I don't know what these are. I'm assuming these are for porting the laptop. It has the Kingston lock. It's got the fan outlets. That's the USB 2.0, I think, and that's the headphone slot. That's an SC slot. USB-C, USB 3, USB 3, HDMI. I think that's LAN, so wired internet connection. VGA. Sorry about the focus. Hold on. That would be I don't even know what that slot is. I think that's the micro SD card slot, and that's the charging port. Okay. As you can see, it says over here, ProBook. Okay, so overall, this is quite a nice laptop. It does have a thick profile, but it does have quite a sleek finish. When we open the laptop up, this is what we find. You can see that you've got these things over here, which stops the screen, touching the keyboard, I think, when it goes down, and means that the screen lasts a bit longer. You've got your fingerprint scanner over here. I think this has got a TPM module. I'm not really sure what it's called. I don't need it. It's got HP Secure Start. I think the drive is self-encrypting. Again, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not like a normal reviewer, but I read that somewhere. You've got the speakers over here. You've got your power on button over here. The fingerprint scanner works really fast, really nice. This is the mouse pad. It's kind of a bit narrow, I'd say, but it is quite wide, which is a good thing. However, HP, perhaps they should have just made it a bit bigger, like the MacBooks. As you can see, quite sleek, quite nice, modern sort of laptop. 14-inch. It is 1.7 kilos, which is quite a lot for a laptop. Which is 14-inch. I was thinking of getting the MacBook D2500U laptop without the touchscreen instead of getting this, because that one has a larger battery life and the screen is purportedly got a better what's it called, the ratio of black to color. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, let's check out the keyboard. Keyboard's quite nice. Much better than my Lenovo Yoga 500's keyboard. Again, this is aimed at business users. They say its retail value is around £1,000. However, I only paid £570 for it. I think you can buy it on box.co.uk. Good typing keyboard. I did a little test earlier and I didn't miss any keystrokes, so that's a good thing. I don't like this because it sucks if you ever want to do some gaming, which this laptop is capable of doing at lower settings with newer games because it has the Vega 10 graphics. Okay, so you know what it looks like now. I'm going to show you the charger very quickly. That's the charger. Really quite small. Smaller than my Lenovo Yoga 1, which is over here. I'll show you. And I'm just going to show you a comparison between the Lenovo Yoga and this laptop, so you might have a point of reference. So this is Lenovo Yoga. This is HP. I'll try and get them side by side. Okay, my camera's not focusing. So in terms of the profile this laptop has, it's quite big, but it's still small considering it's a 14-inch laptop. Since it's a 14-inch laptop. Let's get to the benchmarks. Okay, so it's doing some updates. Whilst it's updating, I may as well tell you what I've done so far with this laptop. The drivers that it came with for the SSD were pretty poor. So I got I think it's the OCZ modded and signed drivers. That the way you do that is you change the firmware for the PCIe Express controller. However, it does have to be specific to the SSD that's being used. And I'll leave a link in the description so that you guys can download that. That increased my speeds from 600 megabyte read speeds for sequential and I think 300 megabyte write speeds for sequential to I think it was about 1,500 and 1,000 depending on the benchmark software. I will post those benchmarks soon. Okay, it's loaded. I'm going to talk a bit about the laptop and how it's working so far. The battery life is quite good. I've got this, which monitors it. Can't really see that much actually, but so far it's been alright. I think it lasted like 6 to 7 hours potentially, but that's still something I'm yet to determine 100%. Let's show the benchmarks. So the benchmarks for superposition, it was 3,236, and that's doing 720p on low settings. And then for the high settings at 1080p, it got 859. One of the unfortunate things about this laptop is that it did show a lot of inconsistency in the benchmarking, in particular when it came to the SSD benchmarks. Sometimes when I turned it on, it would give me a very low benchmark, and then other times it would give me a very high benchmark. Now, this could just be initial instability. Obviously, when you get a new laptop, new updates are happening all the time. However, it could also be instability within the firmware and the software, which HP has provided, or it could just be the nature of the way I'm running it. Here we can see an example of that. This is in German because I ran it from the extracted file, which means that it didn't allow for English. Interestingly, if you don't run it from the extracted file, if you don't run it from the, I think it's the RAR file, it gives a different sort of score, more like a, I think it's a lower score, and I don't know why that is. Maybe one of you guys might know. You can see there is quite a big difference in these two scores, which is down to the instability, which I mentioned before. However, they're still good scores, and you're not going to notice much difference unless you're doing difficult tasks. Regardless, they're very good scores. And over here we've got a Crystal Disk Mark 6.02 x64 result. You can see that the sequential Q3 T1 score is very high for the read. It's 2210, and you guys can see the rest. Another time I ran that same benchmarking software, I got a different score. I got a sequential read of 1354. Here are the scores here. So it's these scores, and as you can see, they're quite different, which goes back to the point I made that there is a level of unpredictability within this system. It will perform differently just depending on how it feels. So this is just a brief tutorial on how you can install the best drivers. So what you would do is you'd go to Device Manager, you'll go to Storage Controllers. Now here it should just show the standard ones. You're going to go to Properties, then you're going to go to Driver, and then you're going to go to Update Driver. When you've installed it, you're going to click Browse My Driver, let me pick. And so this is the standard one over here. Okay, my camera is not focusing, but that one there is the standard NVMe. What you would do is you'd go to Have Disk, you'd browse for the file, and then you'd find the file. The one I downloaded was the 64-bit OCZ NVMe driver 1.2.126.843 WHQL. And that seems to have done the trick and massively increased the speeds. Regardless, you're going to want to install all the latest drivers. When you install the AMD driver, you're going to obviously uninstall their driver first. Interestingly, I did find that the benchmarks before and after installing the latest AMD drivers, they weren't so different. In fact, the ones previously were higher. So I would assume that the difference is more in the consistency and overall performance rather than the actual scores themselves. The user benchmark scores were quite mixed, but in general, the CPU performed in the 100th percentile, the graphics performed around the 90th percentile, the rating for the laptop as a desktop, I think it got 75%. It will all be there. I will put a picture up. I'm just talking off the top of my head right now. So as a laptop, it is a fast, snappy laptop. It will get the job done. As a working laptop, it's excellent. It's got the touch screen feature. So there we go. There's Chrome. Personally, I don't really use touchscreen that much, but it's nice to have it, I guess. Don't think there's much else to say about this laptop. I'm going to post the rest of the benchmarks for you to check out, and I'm going to do an update video after because I am going to repaste the CPU so that I can get better cooling performance out of this laptop and potentially increased benchmark scores.